Hi, I'm Picky Pete. I'm gonna walk you through this episode, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's dive right in. Episode starts with Rick going off with these two crows from the previous episode. These two crows, and okay, man. Here's the issue I have with these crows. They're crows, you know. They don't talk. They don't emote face-wise. So it's really an uphill battle to make them interesting and get the audience to care. If you have an animated character that doesn't talk, show some eye whites. Show some fucking eye whites so they can act and be interesting and feel. Especially when you're parodying something as expressive as anime. You got amazing voice talent. You got top-notch animators. An entire multiverse where a character can look like anything. Why design something so limiting that they might as well be stuffed or sock puppets? I mean, they kind of are. Rick is practically doing their dialogue for them.
What do you mean using me as a rebound? You feel like I was using you as a rebound too?
Okay, so then Morty shows up trying to get back with Rick. Now, I have a major gripe with this. Okay, the crows, it's kind of a minor gripe. This one is a major gripe that I have with Morty's characterization. Why does Morty care so much about Rick leaving? Over the course of 5 seasons, Morty started off as a wide-eyed innocent, mega fruit up the ass, oh geez, kind of dude. But as time went on, having experienced the horrors of the multiverse and the horrors of Rick, he has gradually become a lot more cynical and aggressive, especially towards Rick. This is kind of his trajectory. And what we see here just doesn't track. Okay, so we've seen Rick leaving before in season 2. Now let's have a look at the way Morty reacted to that.
Rick, I can handle it if you go, but you'll break Mom's heart, and I won't forgive you for that.
So, he could handle it. And was he lying? Well, let's see what happened when Rick actually left.
I know things have changed a lot, and I know you miss Rick, but getting him back wouldn't make things better.
You've been keeping your lip zipped about it since Grandpa got arrested, but the fact is you're freaking stoked to bail on him.
He bails on everybody!
Okay, so he doesn't want Rick back. He actually acknowledges that things are better without him. Interesting. Let's have a look at this clip.
I don't renounce Rick, and I never have. I was just trying to protect my sister. I wanted you to have a normal life. That's something you can't have when Rick shows up. Everything real turns fake, everything right is wrong. All you know is that you know nothing and he knows everything.
So not only does he not want him back, he's trying to protect Summer from his negative influence. Now let's jump ahead to Morty's reaction to Rick leaving in season 5. Yeah, you know what? I don't buy it. It's what? What? Is this the same dude? He's like regressed back to season 1 levels. I don't know why he's doing this. He had that nice, simmering, slow build going that was fascinating to watch. And now it's inexplicably gone like this. And so this episode where he converts himself into a 40-year-old just to get back with Rick, it doesn't ring true to me, to the Morty I know. And I don't buy it. I can't get into it. And that is my major gripe. It's a major gripe. Also, how can you trick Rick, the smartest man in the universe, into thinking 26 years have passed?
Are you dying of dementia? How are you talking to me like this? When did you get so cocky?
So the crows dump Rick, thank God. And he gets back with Morty, fixes his age issue at the Citadel, and things start getting interesting. President Morty invites them to dinner, and we get this scene, which was great, okay? This was a major like. It was nice to see the banter between Rick and Evil Morty, the two brilliant minds battling it out, back and forth. And you could tell the writers made careful effort with Evil Morty's continuity, right? Making sure everything lined up, including the motivation for downloading Rick's brain all the way back in season 1, Close Encounters of the Rick Kind. Now this leads to a big reveal for Morty and us. That firstly, Mortys were so in demand that Ricks were getting Beth and Jerry's together just to make Mortys. Now this idea is incredibly stupid. This is my next major gripe, okay? Not like the crows, I was like, that's a minor gripe. This is another major gripe. And here's why. First of all, it makes no sense. Just because Beth and Jerry's get together doesn't mean they're gonna have a Morty. Like, they have to sleep together at precisely the right time. Do you know how slim the odds are that the right sperm gets the right egg to produce not even Morty, but first Summer? And then to hope that they sleep together at the right time 3 years later to produce Morty. Evil Morty says, oh, scouring infinity to find naturally occurring grandsons is so much work and such an admission of need. Is it? It looked pretty easy. Like, we've seen Rick do this in like an hour. Isn't it more work to scour infinity to find naturally occurring Beth and Jerry's, spying on them until they're in the same location and playing matchmaker with them, and then waiting for 1 in a zillion chance that Summer, then Morty will be produced, and I guess waiting 14 years for him to grow up? Like, is that what they're doing? This sequence it's so confusing, right? Are they going to a dimension that just happens to be 17 years behind theirs? Or are they going to another dimension and then going back in time 17 years? I mean, this doesn't look like a time portal. Okay, maybe they're going back in time, then portaling, but doesn't Rick hate time travel?
Well, if Ant-Man and the Wasp can do it, I'm not interested.
And wouldn't messing with time on such a massive scale across dimensions alert these guys? Secondly, why did they go through all that trouble if they were just cloning Mortys anyway? Right? We've seen how easy cloning is. Why not just do the cloning on its own? Makes way more sense. I guess the writers wanted to shock us a bit more at the expense of logic. So then Rick and Morty escape via a sadistic Rick-faced blob that... What is this? What even is this, man? It seems to be a growing trend in Season 5 that to get the characters out of a pickle, the writers come up with this convoluted, out-of-left-field solution. It's almost like a challenge they set in the writers' room. They're like, hey, what's the craziest way we can get out of this one? And they try and beat each other creatively. And they seem to think convoluted equals funny, but it's not. Like, so many solutions this season feel shoehorned in. Like, they don't pay off something that we saw earlier or make logical sense to the story. It's kind of like the writers are making up the rules as they go along. A lot of the time, Rick just tells you the logic right before he does everything. Like getting out of Bird Person's mind through Squanchy's stand-up memory. Or Rick's gonna confess something to Jerry, and that solves everything. Contrast that to Season 2's Total Recall. The solution was way simpler, right? They just figured out that parasites only make happy memories. But that made total sense, because the parasites want you to like them, so they can leech off you forever. And the audience gets it. They're not just going off Rick's grandiose explanation. Okay, let's talk about Rick's backstory. I loved the feel of this. You know, I love the Blade Runner-y vibes, that eerie, techno-y music. It sounded like Children by Robert Miles, but like a nightmare version. I love that it was tragic, but Rick was still an asshole. Like, he was trying to avenge his wife, but he kept killing innocent versions of himself. And, you know, ironically, he helped them build the Citadel, so that was a pretty cool twist. But when I first watched this, I was struggling to figure out what was going on. It was like seriously borderline incomprehensible, which is a shame, because the fans have been waiting for this for years, so emotionally, you wanted to hit hard, but it all just rushed by way too fast. Like, I needed multiple watches to work it out. And this is where you wish they hadn't spent so much time on those fucking crows, man. It's beady-eyed, show some eye whites, you crows. And let this part really breathe, you know? Add some dialogue, whatever gets the point across. Just make it hit. It's a saying you have to have a high IQ to understand Rick and Morty. And I think it's actually true. But in the way you need a high IQ to understand Friends sped up 5 times. It's not that the content is challenging, it's a pacing issue. They're just cramming way too much in there and it's not fun. People are like confused and getting a headache.
Ugh, brain hurty.
I rewatched this backstory a few times, just trying to figure out exactly why it was so hard to comprehend, and I think it's this part. Let's have a look. Just for context, this is after his wife and daughter were murdered, and he invents teleportation. Okay, first he scans a phone guy. Then he uses the same device in an ice world. Like, what do the two scenes have to do with each other? Then he catches a monorail to see a gun guy who gives him a gun card. So was the gun guy's contacting the phone guy? Why would the phone guy know the gun guy if they're in 2 different dimensions? But also, why did he need to be in an ice world to contact him? It's not really clear how these scenes link. Then he goes to trade the gun that I guess he bought from the gun guy. Why not just show the gun guy giving Rick a gun for crystal thingy from some shady dudes, but the shady dudes try to kill him, but he kills them first. But seriously, I only figured out it was Rick's gun on like the 8th watch, because Rick pushing the cart was like, it sped by so fast, it didn't even register in my mind. Why not just show Rick handing the shady dudes the gun? I actually thought the gun guy told Rick to get the gun here, but then instead of getting the gun, he chose the crystal instead, and then I was like, why were they killing each other? All this, by the way, takes place in 14 seconds. Like, how the freak are we supposed to work this out, man? There's just too much work to process all the confusing connections between each scene. You know, it was just like, oh, fuck, just brain overload. So then he uses the crystal to scan his brain and get the identity of his wife's killer. So, that whole part before, not only was it super confusing, but it was also irrelevant. Like, did we need to know how he got the crystal? Not at all. Not in the slightest. It's almost like the writers were trying to fill in scenes, so when the music kicked into high gear, it would sync up with the part where he starts killing Ricks. Or like they were trying to fill in beats to complete a mini story circle. Like, really? In a 20-second part of a montage? Did Dan Harmon tell you to create that mini story circle? Just freaking please make it so that we get it. It's 20 seconds. We don't care. It's 20 seconds. Should I make my own cut? I'm gonna make my own cut. I'm gonna show you my vision for this section of the montage, and you guys can decide whether it's better. All right, have a look at this. And we're done. Wasn't that way simpler? No phone guy, no twisty double cross and what the fuck. Just all the information we needed, and now we can move on to the important parts. One beat I kind of wish they had covered in the backstory is this one from Close Encounters, where Rick thinks he's about to die, and the contents of his downloaded brain is flashing before his eyes, and he sees himself picking up baby Morty, and he wells up. We now know Rick didn't have a grandson, so this moment actually has more emotional weight. He's meeting a grandson that he could have had if his daughter hadn't been murdered. So I wondered if the backstory could have been an opportunity to explore that moment, especially because we were in that area. Close Encounters is mentioned in this episode, and they mentioned Rick's downloaded brain. Maybe at this moment, after he parts with Bird Person, if they scratch this, he's trying to find clues. He hears something in the kitchen, and it's baby Morty, and he's shocked. And then he picks up the grandson he could have had for the first time. And then maybe he hears Beth, and then he escapes. And you see the anger in his eyes. It gives him more resolve for revenge. And then he's off, cue the killing spree. I know it's not really funny and the sleeves don't match, but in my heart, I just wanted to see something along those lines. It's a bit of fan fiction for you. It would definitely make his decision to return to Beth stronger. Just adding another layer to why he did that. And if you rewatch Close Encounters, it gives that moment even more emotional weight, the tearing up. Because it's about Morty, but it's also about what was taken from him and all those lost years tracking a killer he never found. Now, after the backstory, why didn't Morty react to finding out Rick wasn't his real grandpa? He just kind of goes, dead wife, and that was it. I felt like he should have been a lot angrier, but nope, they completely skipped that moment in their mad rush to complete everything. And again, I blame the crows. Okay, let's talk evil Morty's big plan, which was to escape the central finite curve, a wall that all the Ricks built around infinity to separate all the infinite universes from all the infinite universes where he's the smartest man in the universe. Now, this was a major like for me. It melded a mega sci-fi concept to character. So it was making it all about Rick and the relationship between Rick and Morty, which is a smart move. And it paints evil Morty as a complex character, He's still completely amoral, but we get to see his point of view. He's just trying to escape Rick. That was a nice twist. Also, it's a nice solve for an issue that has been plaguing the series since probably season 3, and that's that Rick is too powerful. And he's immortal, because if he dies, then he's got Operation Phoenix, as seen in season 4's opener, Edge of Tomorty. It's hard to build stakes around someone who's invincible. But now, evil Morty destroys both Operation Phoenix and the central finite curve. So now Rick is mortal and exposed to universes where he's not the smartest man. It makes for exciting possibilities for season 6. I just wish they made it clear whether evil Morty just left or he actually took the curve down. That was kind of vague. I guess we'll find out in season 6. Okay, lastly, let's discuss evil Morty's offer for our Morty to join him. This is where, in my opinion, if they had kept Morty's characterization, this build-up of aggression towards Rick that had been simmering for 5 seasons, if he had not regressed, given the big revelations about Rick in this episode, I think Morty should have said yes. Then the finale would have been doubly satisfying. We would not only get a payoff for evil Morty's arc, but also our Morty's character arc.
We're Mortys! We're not defined by our relationships to Rick! Our destiny is our own!
And it's a better cliffhanger. Because now we're like, what will evil Morty and Morty do together? How will Beth react to Rick losing her son? And who is Rick without Morty? Now that question has already been explored in episode 9 with these guys. But I've really felt episode 9 and 10 were 2 different finales competing for attention. And as a result, both ideas were rushed and shoehorned together. So if I were to redesign the end of this season, I would not do episode 9 and have it leak over into episode 10. Let's give the Citadel one full episode, ending with Morty leaving with evil Morty. Then I would retool episode 9, exploring that idea, who is Rick without Morty, in season 6, episode 1, with evil Morty replacing Nick, and Rick learning empathy from Garbage Goober, while working with him to find and save Morty. Not some no-stakes shitty mission like what they had with the Crows, like a real mission. Saving our Morty from evil Morty. And now the transition between these 2 episodes feels less forced and more organic. And I'll end on this. It doesn't have to be Garbage Goober, as long as it's not the Crows, It could be Kyle, it could be Summer, a Space Beth, or regular Beth. Anyone but the Crows. And that ends my first review. If you made it this far, thanks so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Was I being way too picky or not picky enough? Have I missed anything? Do you agree or disagree with my points? And what were your major gripes and your major likes? I know the finale aired a month ago, so I'm a little late to the game. I decided to give this a go because I watched a lot of YouTube and listened to a lot of podcasts about the finale, and I felt they were way too general or didn't cover the points I really felt strongly about. It was just meant to be a 5-minute video, but it turned out to be 20, and it was a lot of fun to make. Rewatching what I made, I felt like I was quite harsh on the writers, but this is still an extremely high quality show and I could not do what they do, so thank you for this show, writers. I'm Picky Pete. If you want more content like this, please like and subscribe. It's a very new channel. Signing off.